P2Q Radio.
What's going on, people? I would like to welcome all of you to another Q on One edition of the Talk to Q Radio Show. My name is Quincy, and this is my show. And with the Q on Ones, what I like to do is interview people. Sometimes they can be local entrepreneurs, or they could be someone who's doing their thing worldwide. So it's an opportunity for you to get to know these people up and close and learn their story and what gave them the passion to do what they do or provide the type of service they provide. So please sit back and enjoy the show. And please be encouraged to share. A lot of people, including myself, kind of do their thing by word of mouth, So the more you spread the knowledge about the show, then the more people who can tune in and grow this thing and make it bigger. And it also gives more support for the people who I bring on the show who are looking to get their product or services out to the masses. Without further ado, let's get to the interview.
What's going on, people? All right. I want to welcome all of you to another Q on One edition of the Talk to Q Radio Show. My name is Quincy, and this is my show. And my guest, let's see, she has so many titles. I'm not even sure where to start. She's a doctor of professional counseling. She's a motivational speaker, owner of Miracle Counseling Services, and you can add author to the list of titles that she holds. Residing in the Magnolia State of Mississippi, please welcome Dr. Tiffany Anderson to the Talk to Q Radio Show. Dr. Tiffany, how are you?
Good morning. How are you?
I'm doing well. Can I call you Dr. Tiffany for short?
Absolutely. There are so many people who just call me Dr. Tiffany for short because my name is so long. So Dr. Tiffany is fine.
All right. Well, cool. I appreciate that. All right. So let's start with your journey to having a career in counseling. When did you first realize that was a profession for you?
Oh, wow. That's been a process over the course of several years. But I can remember, I'm not sure if you all remember the Ricky Lake show back when I think I may have been about 7 or 8 or something when that show was out, maybe a little older. But I remember the people on her show being so just dysfunctional, and I thought to myself, one day I want to help people like that. Now, I know I'm not the only one who, every family has their dysfunctions. And I think some people are just brave enough to say, hey, we had dysfunctions in our family. And so that is the perspective that I came from. I thought to myself, I see some of this stuff in my family and I want to be the one to fix it. But as time grew, I started to experience my own struggles that made me say, hey, wait a minute now, I'm experiencing some of these things that I see other people have going on. So it made me more investigative. It made me want to know more. I've always been a very inquisitive person. So I wanted to understand the reason why certain things happened. So that's kind of where it started. And as I continue to learn more about myself, and as I continue to, just learn more scholastically, it kind of broadened my love for the career. And I began to see it more as not even as a profession necessarily, but as a way to connect with people because people are hurting, and and I understand that it's a business and we're there to make money and everything. But my passion for it changed from anything that was necessarily financial to more of a situation. I want to help people who are hurting in this world and let them know that there is help and there is hope. So it just kind of expanded and it continues to expand every day.
Okay, now you've been doing this for how long?
Wow. Okay, so I started this has been my 17th year. So I've been doing mental health for 17 years. I know I don't look like it, right?
Not at all.
But for 17 years, I started off at the state hospital as a psychology technician, and then I moved up to a psychology associate, and then I continued and I got my master's and got my license. So I've always been in employment statuses where I had some opportunity to have interactions with people and to touch them in some way when it comes to their mental health.
Okay, so the job for you.
I'm sorry?
What's the most fulfilling part of the job for you?
I would say that seeing people do their own work is the most fulfilling part of the job. So many times when people come to therapy, I think they come with the understanding or the perception, the misperception that the therapist is going to fix them, or that the therapist is going to do the work, or the therapist is going to be the one to help change their life. And that's not true. The therapist is there as a support. So what brings me the most fulfillment in this profession is seeing people recognize that what they need is already inside of them. What they desire for change, it starts with them. And it takes a strong person to actually sit on my couch or sit in my chair and look at them, look at themselves, and start there. So I would say that is the most fulfilling part of my job, is to see people do their own work and get the work done.
Okay. All right. And Chrissy co-signs on that, and she thanks you for the work that you
Thank
do.
you, Chrissy.
And so are we seeing an increase in the amount of people who seek counseling? I mean, especially in men?
Yeah. Well, I think with the global pandemic, we are seeing an increase, or at least I have experienced an increase in my practice of people coming in for mental health or, anxiety and depression, things of that nature. But I don't think that COVID has caused necessarily, I don't think COVID has been a causal factor as much as it's something that has happened that has forced us to look at what we have going on within ourselves. We can't go out, we can't deflect. So we have to sit with ourselves, and sitting with ourselves sometimes means recognizing, okay, I have some anxiety going on. Okay, I'm feeling a little depressed. I need help. Now, with regard to men, what I do think has happened is that it's become more acceptable for men to reach out, whereas one time or another it was no man was reaching out for mental health services. It was almost like,
Right.
who's going to
Right.
do that? But I think in the climate that we're in now, people are growing more accepting of the fact that men are people too, and that they too need guidance and direction. I mean, you all are people too, right?
Yeah.
So I think that it's becoming more accepting. I think the more knowledge and education that people get, the more we can erase this stigma that's associated with reaching out for help. Like there's something shameful about reaching out for help and needing help. So I am seeing an increase in services, but I'm also seeing more of an acceptance of people, especially men, reaching out for help.
Okay, and that's good. That's always a good thing.
Yeah,
So you own a counseling service in Jackson,
I
Mississippi.
do.
Tell us about the Miracle Counseling Service and what it offers.
Okay, so yes, I am the CEO and founder of Miracle Counseling Services, and it is just what it says. It is Miracle Counseling Services. It is a counseling service that's offered to individuals all over the state. I have people who don't necessarily live in the Jackson area, but they will travel, or they will participate in a telehealth service to get their counseling needs met. And so what I offer is individual, couples, and family therapy. I do see children starting at the age of 10. So I don't see children under 10 years of age. But if you have a child who's in need of counseling services, I do offer that. Again, couple sessions. Most of my clientele are individuals, and they're individuals who are seeking help. They're seeking to understand themselves better. They're having anxiety. They're having depression. So I do offer face-to-face sessions with precautions. Masks are required. I am taking temperatures at the door when you come in and mandating hand washing. So I know some people are old school and they're like, look, I don't want to talk to you over no computer. I want to come in and see you face to face. And I'm with that. But for those who don't want to, or they're not comfortable, I do offer telehealth services as well.
All right. All right. Got it. Just got everything covered. So, like I mentioned earlier in the introduction, you've written a book. You're an author now, and it's yet to be released, but it will be released in 2021, right?
Yes, it will be released on January the 9th. However, pre-orders will be available on Amazon starting on Monday. And so I will drop that link. As soon as I get it, I'll drop it on my Facebook page and also on my business page, where it'll be available for pre-order.
Okay. All right. And it's called Lessons in the Valley: Overcoming the Cycle of Relationship Woundedness.
Yeah.
Okay. And let me give everybody a brief look at
that's
that.
it.
It's a beautiful cover and
Thank you.
back cover, by the way. And so tell us what inspired you to write this book.
I've been a journaler. I've journaled since I was 12, 13 years old. And so every year I tend to pick up my journal and I look back and kind of go through events that have happened and things that I experienced. So this book started off as a series of journal entries. And what I found in my personal journal entries was a need for me to heal. So again, it started with me. I noticed a pattern in my tendency to choose and stay in certain romantic relationships. I noticed a pattern of woundedness that came as a result of the endings of these particular relationships. And I could never understand why. I could never understand. I think I went through that phase that maybe all women or men even go through this. All relationships are bad. I can't find anybody good. Everybody cheats, everybody hurts you. I can't trust anybody. But I had to look at the common denominator of that, and that was me. And that was not in a blaming sort of way to say that I've done something wrong or that I'm a victim, but it's to say, let's look at your pattern of choosing. And let's look at how you're choosing and why you're choosing. I had to really look at my fears. I had to admit to myself that there were some abandonment issues that I had going on within myself. And I really had to open myself up to let me see me. And that is why I'm so strong about looking inward and looking at yourself. So that book started as a way for me to heal myself. I needed to heal my own, what I call secret wounds that occurred in what I like to call in my book, my valley stays. So in the book, I have a different valley that I'm in. It may be the valley of depression. It may be the valley of aloneness, but in the very end, there's a chapter that I encourage everyone to read, and it's called The Exodus. And that represents me exiting from unhealthy thoughts, unhealthy beliefs, and unhealthy behaviors that were not conducive to what I was trying to do and who I was trying to be. So I felt motivated to share that with other people because I know that I am not the only one who has experienced these things. And if I am, okay. But I just will not, I refuse to believe that I'm the only person that has experienced such heartache as it related to relationships. So that was my motivation. It started with me.
Okay. And excuse me, so many people like to play the victim role after a bad relationship. They seek pity from other people when things don't go right. Why is that? And why is that? And why is it important for those people to get out of that victim mindset?
Yeah. I think when people want to play the victim, people are comfortable in the victim role because it prevents them from looking at them. It all comes back to us looking at ourselves. When you maintain the victim role, what happens is that you're using all of your energy to focus on that other person. You're focusing on what they did, how they made you feel. You're ruminating in your mind about all this negative stuff that happens. And what that does is it keeps that person from looking inward. It keeps them in that comfortable position where I can blame and I can externalize my problems, as opposed to saying, okay, this happened, but let me see where I was in my choice when this happened and make a better decision. So to answer your question, I think that's a comfortable role for a lot of people to stay in the victim role because you don't have to do any work. As long as you're the victim, you don't have to do any work. You don't have to look at you. You can just continue to look at somebody else. And that is not a healthy place to be. There is a chapter in my book that's called Get Out of Victimville. So it's surprising that you say that because we got to get out of that victim mentality. That we always finish last type of, we can't stay there. It's not going to work. So again, people stay there because it's comfortable, but it takes work to be uncomfortable.
Okay. And we see a ton of videos online today of people reacting badly to relationship trauma. And not just young people, older people who should know better as well. And not every parent knows how to prepare their child for the world and teach them about overcoming disappointment and emotional pain. So should learning how to cope be taught in school? I mean, should all schools have a counselor who teach a class on, managing life circumstances?
Yeah. You mentioned a word earlier in your question. You mentioned the word trauma. And many times when we think about trauma, we think about physical trauma. But I don't think enough attention gets paid to the emotional traumas that happens in relationships. There is a such thing as a trauma of human connection. There is a such thing as what they call attachment injuries that result in trauma from a relationship. And depending on your attachment style, I talk a little bit about this in the book, your attachment style is going to shape how you respond to certain human traumas or bad relationships. So I don't know necessarily if there's a class that can be taught to prepare someone for these types of attachment injuries. I do think that it's important for people to, or for families and teachers and parents to teach their kids about their emotions, to be able to recognize their emotions, to be able to sit with their emotions, to be able to regulate their emotions, to be able to know when an emotion comes, okay, what is this? Sometimes we see people acting out, kids acting out of emotion. They don't even know what the emotion is. So I think that it's really important for us to talk to our kids about their emotions, about their feelings, that it's okay. It is okay for you to feel angry. It is okay for you to feel hurt, and not make them feel like you shouldn't feel this way if somebody hurts your feelings. Be strong, stand up, toughen up. I think that's what was kind of built into me. Don't cry. You shouldn't be hurt by this. Stand up, move on. And that just that didn't work for me. And so I think that if it's a situation where we can communicate to our children that it is okay for them to experience emotion, and let's work with that, that would be definitely something I would advocate for in a educational setting.
Okay. Okay. I agree with that. And so now you have a quote in the back of your book, on the back of your book rather, where you say, no matter who you are or what you do, there are some lessons that only the valley can teach. What did
Yeah.
you mean by that quote?
Yeah. And that kind of spins off into what we just talked about a few minutes ago. I have all these different degrees. I have 3 degrees. I'm licensed, I'm certified, been in mental health for over 16 years. There are still, regardless of all of my professional decorations, licenses, educations, degrees, there were still some things that my education could not teach me. There were still some lessons that I had to experience for myself. I had to go through it. I don't know how else to say that. There's some things that you have to go through in order to learn the lesson. And I really believe that the universe will continue to bring you the same lesson over and over again until you finally get it. The universe is going to always present that opportunity for you to get it right. And so that's what I mean when I say it doesn't matter who you are. It doesn't matter what school you went to. It doesn't matter what your profession is. It doesn't matter how much money you make. There are certain things in this life that only the lessons in the valley, the painful parts of your life, that only that can teach. And we have to go through in order to get to where we need to be.
Okay. All right. So let me throw this at you.
Okay.
And I hope you're not charging me for this, by the way. I hope you're not billing me. So I've seen a ton of examples in my life of people not learning lessons from failed relationships.
Mm-hmm.
You see them dating the same kind of person over and over because people believe that they have a type. Is it good to have a certain type of person to gravitate towards when it comes to relationships, or does that just perpetuate the cycle of heartbreak?
I think if a person's going to have a type, if they're not clear on who they are, then it's not going to make a difference of what type you have. You really have to be clear on who you are before you start talking about you have a type. Now, I'm not talking about expectations. That is totally fine. If you have expectations of what you need in a relationship, I get that. But that comes from knowing you. So my question becomes, what if your type is not conducive to who you are? What if what you want is not going to mesh with the person who you are? So the question becomes, do you know who you are? Are you comfortable with who you are? And then does that type that you want, does it go together? So I think it's not a black or white answer, but it's always one of those questions that makes you look inward. I've seen those situations too, where you think, well, my type is, I need to have somebody light skinned and bald head. Okay, well, light skinned and bald head keeps hurting you. What else are you looking at when you say my type? So I think that always brings the questions back to, do you know yourself? Do you know who you are in order to choose your type? I think that it's good to maybe step outside of your type for just a second to see whether or not you are missing something that you didn't even know was there. But at the end of the day, you shouldn't even have a type until you know your type. Do you know your own type first? Do you know yourself? And then you can reach out and start, saying what you think your type is or what you think your preferences are.
Okay, so in translation, you're saying that people should go for darts.
That too.
That's what I got from that.
I got you.
All right. I want to take a quick break and we'll get ready to wrap things up.
Okay.
Hi, everyone. I'm Rochelle of Resume Chic. Crafted pro writing to market your career to the next level. We do resumes, cover letters, thank you letters, interview prep sessions, critiques, business letters, employment verification, any type of written content. I'm your girl, Resume Chic. You can reach me at resumechicllc.org. On Facebook, I'm Resume Chic LLC. And on Instagram, I'm _Resume Chic LLC. Hope to talk to you soon. Let's get back to the podcast queue.
All right. My thanks to Resume Chick, LLC.org. And all right, Dr. Tiffany, the first half of your book talks about your false self or who you thought you were. And the second half of the book talks about your real self and who you were called to be. What did you mean by your false self and your real self?
So my false self, I tend to believe, and I believe this with all my heart, that we all have parts of ourselves and that the different parts of ourselves respond to certain activities in our life. For example, the little girl part of myself, I found that she often made decisions out of fear. She made decisions out of fear of being abandoned, fear of being rejected. She made decisions that would temporarily relieve pain, but ultimately sustained her in the valley that she was in. So what I mean is we need to get to a place, or I had to get to a place where I recognize who my true self was. My true self, or our true selves, are loving. Our true selves are self-loving. Our true selves embrace the pain that we may feel and not judge ourselves for feeling bad. Our true selves recognizes those particular emotions and say, it's okay. It's all right for you to feel that way. Whereas our false self says, girl, you need to stand up. You need to be strong. Wipe your eyes. Get up. Our false self, I believe, doesn't allow us to grieve when we need to grieve, and it judges us for grieving. So that's what I meant when I said my false self. I had to really come to a place where I knew who I was, and in an accepting and loving way. And I think that is all of our true selves. That is part of our true identity, is to be self-loving and to stop doing the things that we know are unloving to us.
All right. So what do you want people to get from this book when they read it?
I want people to know that it starts with them, that it's always going to start with you. There are things in our lives that are going to happen to us that we have no control over. There's a quote that says that life is 10% what happens to us and 90% of how we respond to it. So after you read Lessons in the Valley, I would like for people to come away with a sense of strength, with a sense of ownership, with a sense of empowering, knowing that they don't have to stay where they are if they don't want to. I want them to come out knowing that the lessons that are in the Valley experience, they're there to teach you something. So instead of asking yourself, why is this happening to me? Why is this happening to me? Ask yourself, okay, what is the lesson in this? What can I learn from this? What is this trying to show me? What is this trying to teach me? But ultimately, I want people to look inward. I want people to not always, and don't get me wrong, I am total in support of having a safe and supportive network, a safe and supportive tribe. That doesn't always have to be family. You can create your own tribe. You can create your own sister circle or brother circle of safe and supportive people. But I don't want people to get to the point where their needs have to be met by somebody else. We are the most powerful representation of meeting our own needs that we can see. So I want us to start with self. I have a spot in my book where people, you have some folks, they don't believe in God, they don't believe in Jesus. Okay, that's on them. But I am a believer. I'm a believer in Jesus Christ. I believe, and I believe that he lives on the inside of us. So for us to start with ourselves, it's going to be to start with him. And if we start there, then we'll have direction of where to go afterward.
All right. So, where can my people get the book, and where can they connect with you or the Miracle Counseling Services?
Okay. Well, again, the book will be released on Amazon on Monday. What I will do is drop the link on my Facebook page, which is Dr. Tiffany Will Speak. It's going to be on my Facebook page. You can also visit miraclecounselingservices.com, where the link will be there as well for you to be able to purchase the book, to pre-order your books. If you or someone you know or someone you love is in need of professional counseling services, I can be reached at 769-208-6162. I will start to accept new clients starting mid-January. So if you'd like to go ahead and get your appointment booked, I need you to go ahead and give me a call so that I can go ahead and get you the consent forms, and we can go ahead and get you set up for your first appointment.
All right. Well, Dr. Tiffany, I truly appreciate you taking the time to join this Q-on-1 edition of the Talk to Q radio show. I mean, I wouldn't mind having you back in the future to discuss a few relationship topics or something like that if you're up to it.
Absolutely.
And I also want an autographed copy of the book. So I need to order mine directly from you, if that's okay. So if I can order directly from you, then I'm good with that.
Absolutely. I got you. And thank you so much for having me. I would love to be back. There's so much to be said about this topic. I wasn't sure how much time we had, but I think that, this conversation could go on for hours and hours, I think.
It definitely could. It definitely could. And I appreciate you. And to my listeners out there, thank you for joining the show today. The show returns to Facebook Live on Wednesday at 7:30 p.m. What's that? December 15th, I believe, at 7:30 p.m. Central. There's another Facebook Live edition. On that show, my panelists and I will be discussing a topic that a lot of people think is kind of controversial, but I guess it depends on who you are. Can women balance being sexy and motherhood? So you can go to talktoq.com for more information on that, as well as archives of previous shows. And again, I'll have a panel on to discuss that on Wednesday at 7:30 p.m. Central Time. So I hope that everyone enjoys the rest of their day. Peace out. All right.